Welcome to a very special edition of the magazine. Today we have Gary Valerio and Darla Donovan with us to talk about their story, and just want to welcome you both to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking part of your schedule to come and talk about your great mission and your great vision, and welcome to the magazine, which was started by your classmate, David Photo.
Awesome. That's fantastic. We're really happy to be here.
Great. Thank you, Gary. So, Gary, tell us about your background and some of your upbringing here.
Well, I grew up in Fairhaven all my life. Started out on Sconnick Neck for the first 9 years of my life and moved into the center of Fairhaven and grew up in the house that my dad still lives in on Pleasant Street. He's 90 years old. And,
Wow.
He's still very active. In fact, I'll get into it later in the story. He was a big part of the final mission of our bike riding. But anyway, I started playing sports when I was probably 9 years old, and then just kind of grew into playing ball at high school level, whether it be football, football, basketball, and track, and then went on to play football in college. But I didn't start my riding days on a bicycle until I met Darla about 10 years ago.
So your teenage dream wasn't necessarily riding a bike.
It wasn't. It was just pretty much hanging out with friends, and we were talking. We used to kind of get into endurance type things. Some of my running friends and some of the endurance things that we talked back then. You would say, "I bet you can't run a marathon." I bet you I can. Or maybe someday we'll do the Appalachian Trail, which is a 1,500-mile footpath from Maine to Georgia. Maybe we should ride a bicycle cross country. Wouldn't that be cool? And as I've told the story with other people, life got in the way, and we just, it kind of was a faded dream that ended up getting on a bucket list of maybe that would be cool if we could do it still someday, And after I met Darla, there were several things that happened that pointed us in the right direction, and it all kind of came together about 5 years ago, was it? With Linda Wilson.
Yes.
We live in Florida now, and
You live in Florida with Darla.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
And we are a part of several clubs, the riding groups, cyclists that we actually do a lot of speed riding and pace lines. And one of the women that was in one of our riding groups, her husband passed away, and she was selling his bike. And when I went to give it a test ride, she told me that her husband had ridden that bike from Los Angeles to Boston.
Wow.
And that was the trigger for me to start saying to Darla, "What would you think if we did this together?" And she was all in.
Yeah.
So from that point,
We love to have fun. So.
yeah.
So the other class is 72 from Fairhaven
Yes.
High School. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, about how that reunion was very important this year,
Yes.
especially. But how did you meet Darla?
I'd like for Darla to tell that story, if that's okay.
We both used to work for the same company, Russell Athletic, and we met in 2010. And I was part of the new customer service team sports department that had been created through a transfer of ownership. And I confirmed all of the orders coming in from all the sales reps, which was like Gary. Mm-hmm. And I started, doing a lot of this processing, and eventually I started emailing him more about the orders he was sending in and asking questions. And I would always end my email by saying, "Thank you and have a nice day." Mm-hmm. He comes back and he says, "Thank you and have a wonderful day." ... So then we went back and forth for several months, like 9 months worth.
Yeah.
And we met 10 months later at a customer service dinner for team sports at Russell Athletic. So I wanted to make sure I knew who this person was. And he also called me like a month before the dinner, and to correct the order that had been sent in. And when I answered the phone, I was just like, "No, it can't be. This is him. This is him." I got to hear his voice. So, and I said, "Are you coming to the dinner next month?" And he said, "Absolutely." So I said, "I look forward to putting a voice in an email with, I look forward to putting a face with this email and everything else." And went to the dinner, and I hunted him down.
And the rest is
Literally, I
history.
hunted him down.
And the rest is
The rest
history.
is history. We've
Oh,
been
that's
together ever
great.
since.
That's great. So it just started out by an email.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we clicked so well
Yeah.
together at the beginning, and it's flowed ever since then.
And because we were both working for a sports company, we had something in common right there.
Yeah.
And first, when we met, we were doing a lot of walking for exercise. But I've had both of my hips replaced, and walking was not a great exercise for long-term future. So she said, what about bike riding? And so that's where we started bike riding. When we were living in, fast forwarded after a couple of years, we moved in together in Rhode Island. We were in Pawtucket, and we heard about the bike path that goes from Woonsocket to Providence.
Okay.
So we started riding on that, but we were kind of just dubbing around, not really being serious about it. And it wasn't until when we moved to Florida in 2013 that we started getting really serious, because we started seeing all these riding groups. So it really started to motivate us.
I guess so. So that's quite a route from California to Fairhaven. Talk about that route. What was it like?
Okay, well, we first started by riding the first 100 miles together we started literally in my son's driveway. My oldest son, Matthew, and my oldest granddaughter, her name is Bowie. They rode the very first mile with us right from the driveway down to the beach. And then from that point, we took a bike path that goes all the way from Long Beach to Huntington Beach, and then from Huntington Beach to San Bernardino, California. So the first 100 miles Darla and I did together, because my son said, hey, I'll bring the car. We have a support vehicle that we intended for Darla to ride behind me she would drive behind me when I'm riding the bike, and then we'd flip-flop and I would drive behind her when she's riding the bike. So with that first 100 miles, my son said, I'll bring the car to you, and I'll have my wife drive me. She'll drive our car and I'll drive your car. And then, so that got us started and headed out into the desert, and we started heading east from the California desert from there. Yeah.
Wow. And why the cause cystic fibrosis?
Well, the main thing that we figured, number one thing for us was safety, for making sure that both of us stay safe on this trip, because it can be a little bit intimidating out there. But we wanted to make sure that we were doing it for a cause. And I have a niece who is my sister's daughter, lives right here in Fairhaven. Her name is Libby Montigny, my sister Heidi's daughter. She's had cystic fibrosis ever since birth. She wasn't diagnosed until she was 3 years old. So there was 3 years of a lot of not knowing what was going on in her life. And she was on a list of getting a lung transplant, a double lung transplant, as recently as 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But there's been some tremendous progress being made with cystic fibrosis, that they've developed a new drug that she's been taking, and it has totally changed her life. She's not on oxygen anymore.
Wow.
She's living a normal life. She's engaged to be married. We spent some time with her recently after our trip ended. But so the mission is to continue to raise money for cystic fibrosis. And as many people can see on our shirts, our mission is to try to raise $100,000. We fell well short of that during the ride, but it doesn't mean we have to end the mission of trying to raise money. So we're gonna turn our mission into a lifelong mission, and develop a new theme or a new concept, and try to get more people inspired to work with us to help make that happen. And a lot of people thought that we wouldn't be able to do this ride. In fact, we ran into several people that were doing a ride. Two people were going from Los Angeles to Boston.
Yes.
Another couple of people were going from Los Angeles to Toronto. And we kept in touch with a couple of them, and one of the group didn't make it. They couldn't get along with each other, and then they just broke up. And the other two, one got hit by a car, and didn't hurt them badly, but it interrupted their trip. So anyway,
how long was your ride?
Is in terms of miles?
Miles and hours.
Yeah, we targeted. We set aside 90 days total. We started April 1st, like I said, with our back wheels in the Pacific Ocean. We targeted 70 days of riding at 50 miles a day. And so we were our plan was to do 3,500 miles. And we used an app that Darla found that I'd like you to tell
It's
about
cycle.travel.com, and it will put you on all the roads that are the safest to go on for bicycles.
Okay.
So you put in your starting point, and then you put in your destination for that day, and it will tell you exactly how many miles it is, and it will also allow you to do paved or unpaved. And we prefer the paved because we have the road bikes with the small tires. So, but I mean, it worked great. I actually found it by accident last fall when we were starting to plan this ride. And he started working on it and trying to survey it and just determine, what was going to be the situation with it. And it's been our life support probably since Kansas, since we got out of the desert.
Because originally we
It's
started
actually
out
nice.
we started out on Route 66 after we got off the bike path in San Bernardino, and Route 66 veers towards Chicago, halfway through the country. So it was at that point, I think, when we get Kansas and Missouri, that's when we started using the cycle.travel, and it was fabulous. It just really took us onto some really nice back roads where there was hardly any traffic at all. And it helped us to enjoy it more, and stay safe as
Yeah.
well.
So was there any scary times along the way?
There was one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, upstate New York. Darla was riding, and I was driving up a long, gradual hill, and she was going quite slow. And it was a 2-lane road, so you had a double yellow line in the middle. And an 18-wheeler started coming from the distance. I knew he was going really, really fast. And I was kind of straddling the breakdown lane, trying to protect her. That was our mission, stay enough behind her so that we could slow traffic down, just to slow it down. Well, he decided he wasn't going to slow down, and he almost hit me.
Yeah.
He leaned on his horn, intimidated us, tried to swerve to get in front of us, eventually stopped his vehicle, got out, and actually, I don't like to use the word attacked our vehicle, but he came straight at us and threatened us. And that, I fortunately caught the name of the company he was driving for, and also his license plate and his DOT number and all that. So at some point, I might file a complaint, but that day we just kind of let it go.
Sure.
It was scary, but nothing came of it. And I just wanted to protect the whole situation from another vehicle coming from the blind side of the hill on the other side. If that had happened, it would have been pretty serious.
Right. I mean, you had plenty of advertising on your vehicle too.
Oh yeah, and that was one of my things. Please be patient, enjoy life a little bit more, because this is only going to take a minute. So, it was just one of those situations. But we didn't let it outweigh the fact that 99.9% of all the people we met, I mean, it was just amazing. People just opened their hearts. Some people invited us into their homes. At first, when somebody would say, "Do you need a bottle of water?" we'd say, "No, we've got everything. We're all set." But then we started saying, "Wait a minute, people are offering stuff, and even though we might not need it, why don't we take this opportunity to stop and talk to them about the mission that we're on?" And that's when it really became more heartwarming. I'd like Darla to maybe...
They would tell their stories about people in their family that had CF.
Oh, wow.
And we actually learned quite a bit more about the disease at that time when those families were telling us about how their family members were reacting to it. And the first person that actually stopped us, he was mowing his lawn. And we actually stopped to get a break, just a water break. So he comes across his yard and comes up to our window. He goes, "You guys got a minute? I'll give you some water. I want you to come in and talk to my wife and I, because we have a family member that has CF." So we said, sure. So we pulled over into his driveway, and we probably talked to them for 30 to 45 minutes. And that's where she kind of gave us a little bit more detail about her family situation versus what, Libby's going through too. So, because not all the cases are equal in how people react. And that's why we wanted to learn more about it, because we can help other people as we moved along, throughout the country.
Educating people.
And we met a lot of people.
How about the one that chased us down? The woman
Yeah,
that.
I'll let you say that one.
Yeah,
It's great.
We were going through Ohio, and we were just about ready to finish our day. We about a quarter of a mile to go. We saw a stop sign ahead, and we had already predetermined that we're going to stop at this street anyway. So there was a woman running down the hill from the opposite direction that appeared to be finishing her run for the day. So she looked down at her watch, and she probably clocked out. And then at that point, Darla was driving behind. On the back of our vehicle, we have lettering, white lettering that we bought at Walmart that says, "Cyclist ahead, California to Massachusetts for cystic fibrosis." And that was on the far left side, so it didn't detract from our vision. She turned around and saw that lettering on the back, and she just sprinted towards us. If we hadn't been finishing our day, she would have never caught us, because we would have kept going. But we see this woman coming from behind, and she's waving. Hey, what's going on? What did we do? We didn't do anything. She caught up with us, and she said, "I was just on the phone with my fiancé. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember the word. I was on the phone with my fiancé, and he has cystic fibrosis, and unfortunately, he just went out to get gas, and he'll be back in 5 minutes. Can you wait for a few minutes? He wants to talk to you and find out what you're doing." So it turned out that they invited us to dinner.
Wow.
She was either going to cook or take us out to dinner, and we sat on their back porch just talking about the whole mission. We learned about the drug called Trikafta, which is the drug that my niece is on, and he has said that it's changed his world too. He also said he was one of the youngest people in the United States ever diagnosed. He's going to be 40 years old this year. Okay. So back when he was born, they weren't diagnosing what was wrong. They weren't diagnosing cystic fibrosis as quickly as they can do it today, obviously with more technology. But they gave us a $200 donation and took us to dinner, and it was just like, wow, we've exchanged Facebook and, email and phone numbers and everything. And so we plan to stay in touch with them. In fact, would like to put them in touch with our, Libby on our side, so that we can, continue the mission and try to learn more to help other people understand more about it.
So your goal was $100,000.
Yes, sir.
How did you do?
We just hit 20,000 yesterday. We had one website that we started with back in Florida that just wasn't working, and we started that website last October. We thought that with all the writing we'd do with our writing groups in Florida, that we'd be able to generate some I would say generate some enthusiasm or some buzz about it. And the website was not as user-friendly as we would have liked it to be. So some people just either ignored it, or some called us and said, "Hey, what button do I click to get to the next step?" So we then pursued the Boomer Esiason Foundation, figuring that, it's a well-known name in the sports world anyway, football. He was a former quarterback in the NFL, and we joined up with them, and we've gotten tremendous support with them. So we developed a new website with them.
Okay.
And it's just in 2.5 months, we've raised over 10,000 with that. But among checks that people hand us or mail to us, we had a forwarding address to come here to Fairhaven. So we picked up some checks once we arrived here in Fairhaven. And so between the 10,000 that we've raised on the Boomer Esiason Foundation, plus a combination of checks in the previous website, we just topped 20,000 just yesterday. So
well, that's awesome.
We're only 20% there, but we're gonna
But yeah, your mission is there, and you're going to do it. And I'd like to make a contribution to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You have another $100 towards your goals.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
And how can people donate? Where can they go now?
Well, I don't have it memorized, and I will actually have to.
Well, Dave can put it up on the screen
okay.
too.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be great.
so if people are watching and they notice that that's the website to donate to.
It's the Boomer Esiason Foundation is
Boomer
the name of
Esiason
it. I just
Foundation.
don't have the.
Yep, we'll have that on the screen, so you don't have to worry about it. So what was it like dipping the rear wheel of your bicycle in California in the Pacific Ocean, and then coming here to Fairhaven, to West Island, and dipping your front wheel in the Atlantic Ocean. What was that feeling?
Is really, really special because, number one, any tradition with people that ride their bicycles across the United States is to put the rear wheel in the ocean that you're leaving from,
Okay.
and putting your front wheel into the ocean that you're arriving at, your destination. So leaving California was very special because my son, my 8-year-old granddaughter, on her birthday, and Darla and myself all dipped our rear wheels into the Pacific Ocean all at the same time. So then when we arrived here in Fairhaven, unbeknownst to me, my father met us at the high school. My 90-year-old father met us during the ceremony that we had for raising the flag for our 50th reunion. And then he told us, do we mind if he rides the last 8 miles with us to West Island? So when we dipped our wheels in the Atlantic Ocean, or Buzzards Bay is close enough for me, my dad was there to celebrate it with us, and it was it was extremely emotional. Just the mere fact that it still almost seems like a dream that
It does.
I mean, there was a lot of work involved, but people would ask us, how do your legs feel, and how is your body? And we're like, we feel great, but our minds are not as sharp right now because there was a tremendous amount. I mean, we did hit a wall probably about 3 weeks ago. I think psychologically, staying in 100 different hotels and 100 different nights, 100 different beds to sleep in, planning your route on a daily basis, knowing exactly what turns you have to make, booking the next hotel room. We literally lived our days minute to minute, hour to hour. Okay, where are we? Main Street here for 3.2 miles, and then take a left on Adams Street type of thing, And so we had to really make sure we were going in the right direction so we wouldn't get off course. And it was just mentally exhausting, and psychologically exhausting. We just kind of hit a wall, and I think we're still there right now. It's almost like, really, did we get this done? We went out for a bike ride today, and we only did 10 miles, and we don't feel like we've done enough. So we're going to do some more with some friends this afternoon. So,
well, what a great family memory that you both have, of this adventure, and also just an incredible, once in a lifetime,
That's right.
story.
Yes.
That you will have for generations to come in your families, from your father on to your granddaughter.
Yes.
So it's a great memory to have, and for such a great cause, and you're continuing the cause. So it's even enveloping into more.
And with my niece Libby being at the end, at the finish at the beach, with my sister Heidi and her father and Libby's fiancée, all 4 of them were there waiting for us. And just big hugs, and the emotions were just indescribable. It was very special because she knew we were doing this for not just her, but for people all across the world that suffer from cystic fibrosis. It's a terrible disease. It's and if nothing else, if we create awareness and we call attention to that, and I know not a whole lot is spoken or written about it on a regular basis, and that's part of the mission that we want. We will someday hit $100,000, and maybe at that point, maybe it could be tomorrow if if the right person writes a big check.
That's right.
It could take years from now, or it could go to, who knows, $1 million someday. So
exactly, you maybe surpass that 100,000 with both of your examples.
Exactly, and we want to inspire others to be part of, what we're doing, because we believe in it, and that's what we want to continue on.
So what was it like going to your 50th class reunion? You definitely took the longest route.
Yeah, it's funny you said the longest route, because one of our friends was giving us a song of the day type thing, or a song of the week, and there was one of the songs was "Take the Long Way Home," by Supertramp, So it was just like going to the reunion it's always special. We have a very close class, the class of 72 at FHS, and we were all kind of in tune with the excitement. I think the the meeting at the town beach is a tradition for us. It's always nothing special for us to arrive there. It just happened that I decided that wouldn't it be a great time to arrive when everybody's already there. You know?
Right.
Because we did arrive into New England earlier than we expected. We had some tremendous weather. Of the 90 days that we set aside, 20 days were supposed to be for either rain or cold or mechanical issues or whatever. And we only had 9 days of days that we couldn't ride.
Wow.
So we were like almost 10 days ahead of time, so ahead of schedule. And so what we did was went up to New Hampshire, where my younger son and my other grandchildren live, spent some time with them in New Hampshire, and then visited a friend in Maine to kill some time before the final day, So, and one of the things that was super exciting was we didn't expect, but we had a police escort from the Acushnet line to the high school. They waited for all the festivities and celebrations that were going on at the high school, which was the flag raising for the 50th class reunion. It's a tradition for the 50th reunion class to do that. And then we had our class picture, and they waited for us to take us all the way down to Sconticut Neck and all the way to the tip of West Island from there. And by then there was like a half a dozen other people that joined us riding all the way. And I think they were pretty excited, just to be part of the hoopla, I guess, So it was very exciting for us.
Well, that's wonderful.
And the friends that we saw at the reunion and all that we usually go every 5 years anyway, but this was super special because it was the 50th.
Well, you're a hero to not only your 50th class reunion, class of 72, but you're a hero here in Fairhaven, both of you. Darla, you're a hero, even you're not the class of 72, but you're still a hero here in town of Fairhaven because of what you did and what you continue to do.
We're both humbled by that, and I don't look at it as being a hero. Maybe if I hit that $100,000, then we'll both be heroes, but we couldn't have done this without each other. It's really kind of a love story that we love doing things together.
Yes. We're always together. We work together. We travel together. But I just wanted to add one more thing about this beautiful town, Fairhaven. The love and support, if I get emotional, I'm so sorry. The love and support that we have had along the way, just on Facebook, social media, Instagram, has just been astounding. And I told a few of them that were at the flag raising ceremony when we first arrived, I said, we couldn't have done this without all of you. And they were there every step of the way. And several of them have come up to us since then and said, there wasn't a minute that I did not follow you on your route. And we were just waiting to see what the next segment was going to be. And the town itself is it's an awesome town. I'm not from here, but it's almost like my second home. And the class of 72 is a very close, tight class, and they've been together all these years. They've never separated it with communication and following up with each other to make sure everyone's okay over those years. And I think that is just absolutely awesome.
It's a family.
Yes, it is. It surely is.
So Gary and Darla, I once again, I can't thank you enough for your mission, your vision for cystic fibrosis and all the new challenges that are presented. But with funding, you're making a difference. And thank you again, and thank you for being a part of our show.
Oh, we thank you for helping us spread the word, because that's what it's all about, and trying to get more people involved. So thank you very much for having us.
You're very welcome. And the last word is, please donate to Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.